people say you shouldn't eat while meditating. Don't eat while meditating. It's not good for you. Don't eat while meditating. See, sometimes you're just hungry, you know. How are you gonna meditate if you're thinking about food? So, eating Hawaiian bread, peanut butter, listening to some non-copyright music, so I don't get flagged by Twitch. Yeah, so don't listen to that thing. Hey, whoever's watching, if you want to join the live stream and we can meditate online together. If not, it's chill. Just drinking some tea before we start. So I'm listening to NCS. This is the type of music I listen to when I'm meditating. I feel like this type of music engages my emotions. Alright, let's meditate. Alright. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshvara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Swarupa Isha Jagatisha Akhilananda Swarupa Isha Mahesha Brahmananda Swarupa Isha Akhilananda Swarupa Isha Mahesha Brahmananda Swarupa Isha Mahesha Brahmananda Swarupa Isha Jagadisha Akhilananda 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 Swarupa Isha Mahesha Brahmananda Swarupa Isha Swarupa Isha Jagadisha Akhilananda Swarupa Isha Mahesha Brahmananda 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 Swarupa Isha Jagadisha Akhilananda Swarupa Isha Mahesha
La 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 la. This very body is soil. My body, your body, everybody is just soil body. Soil body. The magic of soil is it turns death into life. Depleted soils will not quench the fire of hunger. Unquenched hunger can burn the very world. This is a generational responsibility. Save soil. Let's make it happen.
Okay. What's time for? Oh, right. Save soil. Save soil first. It's important to save the soil because you save the soil, you save the air, you save the water. So saving the soil saves the world, literally. So it's good to save soil. Now we're going to we're doing story time now. Story time with Vashista's Yoga. Vashista's Yoga. Oh, snaps. Things. My little contraption sucks. Whoop. There you go. Vashista's Yoga. Let's see. What page were we in? Let's see. Oh no, that's not my page. Nope, part 1. Part 15. Nope, we didn't get that far. Okay, this looks familiar. Man, it's so bad. Okay. Maybe I could just scoot this in closer. Oh yeah, it's getting better. Okay. Why does it do that? It's always trying to do a auto zoom. Let me check it out real quick. Book camera zoom. Configure video. Camera control. Focus. And then we'll make that 22. Apply. Boom. Okay. Looks a little bit better. Okay, so last time we were talking about Rama, and he is saying that wealth is bad. Wealth is bad. Blah 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 blah. Wealth seeks him who has already been chosen by death. Even so is the lifespan, O sage. Its duration is like that of a water droplet on a leaf. The lifespan is fruitful only to those who have self-knowledge. We may encompass the wind. We may break up space. We may string waves into a garland, but we cannot pin our faith on the lifespan. Man vainly seeks to extend his lifespan, and thereby he earns more sorrow and extends the period of suffering. Only he lives who strives to gain self-knowledge, which alone is worth gaining in this world, thereby putting an end to future births. Others exist here like donkeys. To the unwise, knowledge of scriptures is a burden. To one who is full of desires, even wisdom is a burden. Even wisdom is a burden. To one who is restless, his own mind is a burden. And to one who has no self-knowledge, the body is a burden. The rat of time gnaws at the lifespan without respite. The termite of disease eats the very vitals of the living being. Just as a cat, intent on catching a rat, looks at it with great alertness and readiness, death is ever keeping a watch over this lifespan. Rama continued, Holy Sir, I am bewildered and scared when I contemplate the coming into being of the dreadful enemy of wisdom, known as egotism. It comes into being in the darkness of ignorance, and flourishes in ignorance. It generates endless sinful tendencies and sinful actions. All suffering surely revolves around egotism. It is the I who suffers, and egotism is the sole cause of mental distress. I feel that egotism is my worst disease, spreading the net of worldly objects of pleasure. It is this egotism that traps living beings. Indeed, all the terrible calamities in this world are born of egotism. Egotism eclipses self-control, destroys virtue and dissipates equanimity. Giving up the egotistic notion that I am Rama, and giving up all desires, I wish to rest in the self. I realize that whatever I have done with an egotistic notion in whatever I have done with an egotistic notion is vain. Non-egotism alone is truth. When I am under the influence of egotism, I am unhappy. When I am from egotism, when I am free from egotism, I am happy. When I am under the influence of egotism, I am unhappy. When I am free from egotism, I am happy. Egotism promotes cravings. Without it, they perish. It is this egotism alone, without rhyme or reason, that has spread the net of family and social relationships to catch the unwary soul. It is this egotism alone, without rhyme or reason, that has spread the net of family and social relationships to catch the unwary soul. I think I am free from egotism, yet I am miserable. Pray, enlighten me. Bereft of the grace earned through the service of the holy ones, the impure mind stuff remains restless as the wind. It is dissatisfied with whatever it gets and grows more and more restless by the day. The sieve can never be filled with water, nor can the mind ever reach the state of fulfillment, however much of worldly objects one acquires. The sieve can never be filled with water, nor can the mind ever reach the state of fulfillment, however much of worldly objects one acquires. The mind flits in all directions all the time, but is unable to find happiness anywhere. Unmindful of the possibilities of reaping great suffering in hell, the mind seeks pleasure here, but even that it does not get. Like the lion in a cage, the mind is ever restless, having lost its freedom, yet not happy with its present state. Alas, O Holy One, I am bound by the knots of craving to the net that has been spread by the mind. Even as the rushing waters of a river uproot the trees on its bank, the restless mind has uprooted my whole being. I am being wafted like a dry leaf in the wind by the mind. It does not let me rest anywhere. It is the mind alone which is the cause of all objects in the world. The three worlds exist because of that mind stuff. When the mind vanishes, the worlds vanish too. Rama continued, it is really when the mind stuff is enveloped by craving that innumerable errors arise in the darkness of ignorance thus caused. This craving dries up the good and noble qualities of the mind and heart, like sweetness and gentleness of disposition, and makes me hard and cruel. In that darkness, craving in its different forms dances like a goblin. Though I adopt various methods to restrain this craving, the latter overpowers me in a moment and helplessly drives me astray, even as a gale carries a straw away. Whatever hope I entertain of developing dispassion and such other qualities, craving cuts that hope away, even as a rat snaps a thread. And I helplessly revolve, caught in the wheel of craving. Like birds caught in a net, we are unable, though we have the wings for it, to fly to our goal or abode of self-knowledge. Nor can this craving be ever appeased, even if I were to quaff nectar. I don't know what that means. Quaff nectar. The characteristics of this craving is that it has no direction. It drives me in one direction now, and the very next moment it takes me away in another direction, like a mad horse. It spreads in front of us a very wide net of son, friend, wife, and other relations. Though I am a hero, this craving makes me a frightened coward. Though I have eyes to see, it makes me blind. Though I am full of joy, it makes me miserable. It is like a dreadful goblin. It is this dreadful goblin craving that is responsible for bondage and misfortune. It breaks the heart of a man and creates delusion in him. Caught by this goblin, man is unable to enjoy even the pleasures that are within his reach. Though it appears as if the craving is for happiness, this craving leads neither to happiness nor to fruitfulness in this life. On the contrary, it involves vain effort and leads to every kind of inauspiciousness. Even when it occupies the stage called life, on which several happy and unhappy situations play, this craving, like an aged actress, is incapable of performing anything good and noble, and suffers defeat and discomfiture at every turn. Yet it does not give up dancing on the stage. Craving now ascends to the skies, now dives into the depths of the netherworld. It is ever restless, for it is based on the emptiness of the mind. In the mind, the light of wisdom momentarily shines, but there is delusion the next moment. It is a wonder that sages are able to cut this with the sword of self-knowledge. This pitiable body composed of veins, arteries, and nerves is also a source of pain. Inert, it appears to be intelligent. One does not know if it is sentient or insentient, and it engenders only delusion. Delighted with a little gratification and distressed by the least adversity, this body is indeed highly despicable. So, we'll end the reading for now, but we're getting a grasp of how mature Rama is. He's not just a regular person who's just saying, he's not a regular person. He's matured to a state where even his mind, he sees wealth as an enemy. Wealth is an enemy. That's what we read a couple yesterday. Wealth which deludes the ignorant, unsteady and fleeting. This wealth gives birth to numerous worries and generates an insatiable craving for more. He even says that, where is it? He expands on this by talking about how wealth seeks him who has already been chosen by death. So he's a very negative view of wealth, not because he thinks wealth is not because he thinks wealth is evil per se. He just understands that the end goal of wealth is just more suffering. So he doesn't see it as good or bad. He just sees the end consequence of it, the ultimate end consequence of it. he recognizes the value of wealth, but at the same time, he has matured the thought of wealth into its well, what it actually does. It causes, it just gives more birth to numerous worries and generates an insatiable craving for more. Likewise, he talks about the mind. The mind being, he talks about the mind being this idea of egotism. Well, that isn't about the mind, but let's go in order. He talks about egotism being a mental disease. It's this idea that it is the I who suffers. Egotism is the sole cause of mental distress. So he even talks about egotism eclipses self-control, destroys virtue, and dissipates equanimity. Giving up the egotistic notion that I am Rama, and giving up all desires, I wish to rest in the self. I realize that whatever I have done with an egotistic notion is vain. Non-egotism alone is truth. It's this, he's developed a maturity to know that it's not him who really does anything. He's equanimous, but this idea of the self, this idea that I am doing this, I am performing an action, I am reading a book, I am playing a video game, I am going to work, I am a Filipino, I am a male, I am educated, I am a guy with glasses. It's this idea that you are the person doing it. It's really, that's really not what it is. It's not you doing something. It's life happening. It's a perception that happens. Oh man, that's such a difficult concept. It's like the idea that you're not really doing anything. You're just reacting to what's being done to you. Like the reason why most people go to school is not really because they want to go to school, but they just go to school because that's what people have always done. Most people, they go to church, or they follow some sort of religion, not really because they know why they're doing it, but just simply because that's what their forefathers have done, or that's what their ancestors have done. Maybe I'm not quite clearly making the distinction between the person doing it and the thing that's happening, but it's just this idea that are you really who you are because that's how you behave, or are you only behaving that way because you've been trained to behave that way based on what you've been taught, what life has taught you, what life has beaten into you? Are you really consciously doing the action? Let's see. So he then talks about the mind, how horrible the mind is. It's the mind is what's causing this issue, these issues. The mind is going from one location to another location. It's restless. It's always trying to do something. It's like, and many people who start meditating, They talk about, oh, my thoughts are all over the place. I'm thinking about what's gonna happen tomorrow, what happened before. Oh, did that person make fun of me? Oh, why did I say what I said? What should I say tomorrow? How do I approach tomorrow? It's it's this it's this idea that the mind is an issue. The mind is an issue because it goes from one thought to another thought. And so that's how he describes the mind. He describes it as a goblin. Where is it? Where does he describe it? He describes it as a goblin somewhere. Oh, so it is like a dreadful. Though I am a hero, this craving makes me frightened, like a frightened coward. Though I have eyes to see, it makes me blind. Though I am full of joy, it makes me miserable. It is like a dreadful goblin. And so we begin to see just how dispassionate Rama has become after his spiritual journey. He's no longer interested in eating. He's no longer interested in physical objects. He sees wealth as a negative. He sees wealth as death, and he sees the mind as a goblin. And then we get alluded to this idea that this body is the source of pain. So we're talking about a person who went through a spiritual journey, and then he came back, and all of a sudden he just doesn't care. He doesn't care about life anymore. He's just dead. He's dead inside. You know, this will happen to you. This will happen to you when the world sucks. When the world sucks, it'll happen sooner. But you know, when life is going well, when you got a good job, when your kids are off to school and they're not doing anything bad, and life is just going in and out, it becomes harder to realize these truths. It becomes harder to come into awareness of how dangerous the mind is, how dangerous wealth is, and how dangerous the body is. And it's this is where Rama is at. Rama is in this state where he's accomplished. He's a hero, but despite being accomplished, he's totally dispassionate with life because he's lived it. And likewise, in whatever point of life you're in, you'll get to a point where you've lived enough. You've gone to work so many times, and it just becomes repetitive. You observe mothers, you observe fathers, and you simulate their life in your mind. Oh, and then you see kids, and you simulate what those kids are doing, and then years pass by, and then you see exactly how you simulated their life, and then you compare it with what happens now. It's just like you can see that your simulations in your mind of what other people are going through in their life, it comes into fruition, and you begin to recognize that you see patterns, and the pattern is you work, you pay off your bills, you get a family, and then you get kids, and then you die, and it's just like, the hell is the point? What the hell is all this point for? And for Rama, it just came a lot sooner. It's my opinion that that's just the natural progression of life, and we're not as bright, we're not as perceptive as some people. Depending on how perceptive you are, it might take you 20 years to come to that realization. It might take you 50 years. There's some people who work all their lives, and then right when they're about to retire, then they realize, what the hell am I doing with my life? Yeah, and it's sort of, it's not sad. That's just how life is. Like, you sort of have to live through that. People who are struggling right now, that's just part of life. And I really think when you're struggling, it's like it puts you on the fast path to destruction. Which is a good thing. It's a good thing, because the sooner you come to this realization, the sooner you can begin to consciously walk towards a path where you can liberate yourself. And that's what Vashista's yoga is all about. It's about liberating yourself from this endless cycle of life. Not that life is bad. It's not, it's not like life is neither bad or good. It's just life. I don't know, man. Maybe if you if your life is going well, it's very difficult to see that you're in a prison. But when your life is going bad, is it easier to see that your life is a prison? Or are you suffering so much that you can't even see? I guess there's some good in having a hard life, and there's some negatives in having a good life. But it's a lot harder to wake up if your life is so cush, But anyway, that's Vashista. And then join us for the next session for story time. Namma Saptanam Samyak Sambuddha Kotinam Tadiyata Om Chale Chuli Chunde Swaha. Om Ring Rang Raksha Raksha Go Raksha. Om Ring Rang Raksha Raksha Go Raksha. Om Ring Rang Raksha Raksha Go Raksha. Om Anandamananda Karaprasannam Jnana Swarupam Nijabodharupam Yogendra Midyam Vavaroga Vaidyam Shrimat Gurum Nityam Maham Bhajami. Om. Just wanna reach out and say thanks to whoever's watching. I know it doesn't mean much yet, but these mantras that I chant, I'm sure there's no way to validate this, but from my experience, there's a genuine understanding that there's something that happens, there's something that happens to you when you chant these mantras and you listen to it and you sort of imbibe the vibration, I guess, to lack of a better word. But you chant it enough times, you hear it enough times, and suddenly your life sort of shifts into a reality where those mantras aren't just imaginary. It becomes, it manifests itself first as a, oh, I heard someone say that, then it grows up, and it's then you'll hear it, you'll recognize it, and then from being a thought to being an audio, it evolves, and it becomes not just a thought, not just an audio, not just a verbal thing. It becomes ingrained in your mind, and when it gets planted in your mind, then you are more capable of receiving it, because now you're aware, oh, that mantra does this. You don't have to actually even know the mantra. It's just like it's now in your awareness. And yeah, know that there's value in just listening to the mantra. You might not, it might not be perceptible now, but that's sort of where logic is incapable of reaching. There's logic, and beyond logic, that's what usually people call spiritual. It's because it doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's enough talking from me. You guys have a good night, and yeah, really enjoy this Vasistas yoga. Go buy it on Amazon. Om Namah Shivaya. Have a good night.